Good day once again, friends, or good evening, or good night. Part 2 of the third installment of OBE Journal 2023. And I knew I'd be getting to this eventually, but there's quite a number of experiences related in my 2006-7 book, More Adventures in Eternity, where I was undergoing a period of rapid expansion. And there are several accounts of splitting into several parts, aspects of myself, and projecting simultaneously. And I'll give one here from Sunday, September the 26th at 10:35 a.m. And I was probably using hemisync tapes, although I'm not quite sure. But I see some experiences are described as unassisted daytime meditation. That would be Friday, September the 3rd. And that would indicate not using the hemisync tapes. This one, I'm not entirely sure, but hardly matters one way or the other. By this point, I was reasonably experienced and was astonishing myself every other day. So, upon leaving the sack of bones and flesh that constitutes my physical vehicle on the surface of the planet, and knowing that physical Gordon would be writing it all up in the morning, I attempted a 4-way split, just one more challenge really, one more step to the dissolution of identity and the emergence of the multidimensional entity, who, like a building with many floors and departments, conducts operations in a number of spheres simultaneously, with its overall operating system being the software powered by the Christ consciousness. 4 Gordons at the ready, sir. There they stand saluting in a mockery of conformity. Mirrors making light. Number 1 goes quickly to the majestic cathedrals in the higher reaches of the astral Christianity, entering a mass already in progress. Hundreds of devoted souls singing Palestrina, it would appear. I would have thought Palestrina would have been a little challenging for the average devotee, but that's what here. Everyone firmly entrenched in their bodies. Gordon 1 allowing himself to melt into the light, knowing that he can reassemble at will, something many present do not quite realize. Devoted, but not ready to dissolve. When they understand that dissolution is quite reversible, that nirvana is more negotiable than negation, they will relax their hold on the me, not me dichotomy. As Gordon 1 merges with the musical love of his environment, Gordon 2 returns to the psychic atmosphere of lower astral Haiti, where rescue operations are ongoing but muted in the manner previously described. I guess there was some earlier work on Haiti. This time he channels the divine love Gordon 1 is absorbing and spreads it around the areas of devastation, trusting that those souls ready to make the leap out of their repressive belief system will avail themselves of the energy. If they have the courage to do so, even unconsciously, it will give them the boost they need, the escape velocity, as it were. Of course, watching helpers follow their path, ever ready to assist. Gordon 3 moves back in time to the killing fields of World War I, where an aspect of his higher self, yes, that same monad who joins us here from time to time, has been more correctly, or is, along with many others, operating a rescue mission for thousands of confused souls trapped in the psychic turmoil of that conflict. Gordon 3 is also channeling that same energy, boosting the efforts of the dead British officer, organizing and inspiring the small band of rescuers on his team. Physical Gordon knows about this rescue effort, or at least remembers about it from time to time, especially when he's involved in healing work. Years ago, his friend Deb Aaron suggested that he always move some of the healing energy involved in hands-on work towards this rescue team, always understanding that the time frame scenario could be easily transcended by expression of intent. You can see I'm still learning from others at this point. Well, that never stops, but it's an important point. That person was quite an influence on me at the time. Gordon 4 visits S, where they enact a loving relationship they have let slip in the last few days. Out-of-body intimacies, such as have been previously indicated, are followed by much astral romping around with Misha, their beloved husky. This book's filled with all sorts of interesting things, and I'm always wondering how much I should read. There are many experiences of splitting into 2 and 3 parts. That will perhaps suffice for now, the one that you heard, and we'll move on. To the apparent now, which of course expands in every direction the minute you enter it. We seem to be positioned firmly in time and space when we're in the physical plane. But through explorations, whether on any level, you enter the ever-expanding now, and it goes, backwards in time, forwards in time, up in dimension. It's remarkable. We become, obviously, explorers in time and space. Where are we now? He says, speeding along. Flying over beautiful astral landscapes and enjoying the experience and resisting the impulse to land and get focused. Choosing a level can almost be like tossing a coin, because all levels are intriguing in one way or another, and present certain pleasures and challenges no matter where you go. I'm very fond of hanging out in cafes here on the physical plane, and I do a fair bit of it on the astral plane too. they provide the same easygoing social function of, casual interaction. And people tend to, obviously they go for nourishment and refreshment, even on the astral, because they still think they need it, and tend to be more open-minded. It's an admission to the public sphere, saying, I am here, contact me, on a fairly basic social level, of course. And I'm sitting down in a cafe, and someone asks me what I want. I look up and smile and say a latte would be nice, and off they go. And there are people who enjoy the hospitality industry on the astral plane just for the pleasure of doing it. You'd think, oh, after doing it here, why would they want to do it there? And but some do. And people take up all kinds of interesting roles on the astral plane that you might not think they would do. I mean, obviously, there's no compunction to do it, no need to do it because of acquiring rent money. But that's true on many levels and on many situations. But still, people like to be involved in life. And that life on communities on the astral plane on the various levels continues on in with much the same sort of dynamic as here. Not exactly the same, but similar. I smile and open a chatty conversation with a table next to me with about 4 or 5 people sitting there, all seem to know each other well, and are having a pleasant time together. Snacking and sipping and chatting about, I'm not quite sure because I'm not really listening in, I'm sort of joining in. Somebody asked me, do you come here often? Oh, that's a good one. We don't see you around, you must be a new arrival. So I said, no, I'm actually not a new arrival, but I'm a bit of a traveler. I like to move around. And, it's fun. Traveling is way more fun here, and we, go into a little discussion about the challenges of traveling on the physical plane as opposed to the ease of doing it on the astral plane. And as I pull back from this and observe on a sort of a wide-angle lens and project a little bit into the future of this conversation and a little bit into the past, I can, which is a remarkable little stunt, I must tell you. And again, it's one of those things that you don't think you can do until you do it. And then you do it and you go, oh, I can do that. It was various exchanges involving amusing memories of the difficulties of travel on the physical plane, waiting in terminals with annoying delays, losing bags, and rushing off to the washroom at the last minute before leaving, and, juggling your various bits of identification and tickets, and people laughing about how irritating it was and how glad they are to be away from that in the astral. And somebody gives forth on their recent trip to astral Hawaii and what a great pleasure they had there. how beautiful it is, how lovely the people are, all that sort of a thing. And they're not saying astral Hawaii, but we're in the astral plane, so I know that's what we're talking about. And this leads to general chatter about various trips. One fellow says he doesn't really feel the need to travel that much because the level on which they're on, the community in which they live, is so beautiful and life-affirming and refreshing, which seems like an odd thing to say, but that's what he says. And I add, when I'm alive and awake on the physical plane, I feel much the same. That I'm quite happy and in my environment and don't feel the need or the urge to travel as some of my friends do. And the person leans over and says, "Oh, you're not really one of us then?" And I said, "No, I'm just passing through. I'm, projecting." And the guy says, "You mean you're still alive and you're not dead like we are?" And I say, "That is correct. I'm not dead, but I might be one day," which of course everyone laughs at that. And I explain a little bit about my adventures, just a few little tidbits, and they seem interested. And none of them, well, the guy that I'm speaking to mainly, and the others are sort of nodding and looking on, are experienced in that. They did not do any conscious projecting while they were alive. This guy said, "Well, I sort of believed that there was an afterlife. I wasn't really religious, but I couldn't see how life made any sense without an afterlife tagged onto it. It just didn't. Why do all this stuff, this effort, this strenuous work to, make a good life and make a future for yourself and develop your talents and all that sort of a thing and raise your family if it didn't go on?" He couldn't see why it could not go on, even though he knew many people that thought, it didn't go on. He couldn't see it. But he couldn't what's the word he's using? He couldn't push himself to actually explore. He found that he would just rest in his, he didn't want to call it faith, but rest in his understanding that he developed that it couldn't possibly be any other way, that life would have to go on, that nothing would make sense if it didn't. And anyway, here he is, and he's reaping his rewards, he says. I guess the others laugh at that too. There's a fair bit of chuckling going on. There's a couple of people at the other side of the table are talking amongst themselves. I'm not really hearing what they're saying, but I seem to be, despite being a bit of a stranger, accepted into the periphery of the group. A woman next to me leans over and asks me, am I happy with my life? Or are these visits an expression of dissatisfaction? And I think about that for a minute. And I say, well, I guess you'd be right. I am slightly dissatisfied, else why would I move on and move around? But I'm not so dissatisfied that I want to leave permanently. I just see it as a pleasant, fun thing to do, and something that increases my understanding of the planet and the various places on the planet. So no, I'm only slightly dissatisfied, not fully, not wanting to end it all and move on, not at all. Okay. I feel that she wants to be asked how she arrived here. And so I asked her that in very basic language. Well, how did you get here? And she said, oh, just the normal, getting sick and dying stuff, and not pleasant, and making my friends and family rather sad to see me deteriorate, which in itself was not fun. You're surrounded by people that are trying to be happy and life-affirming and loving, but having quite a hard time doing it. And meanwhile, I at some point accepted my fate and was just sliding into it bit by bit. And having gotten over the annoyance or the defeat of having to quit my career and stay at home and just sort of molder away, high on various painkillers and drugs, I didn't really accept that very well. I didn't like it because I was always been an active person, never wanted to take things lying down. But there I was, the disease was forcing me to take it lying down. Oh yes, I could sit, sure, move around slowly, but I was very low energy and very depleted. And I can see she's not having much fun recalling that and would like to draw it quickly to a close. And I convey my understanding of that state and say, hey, don't torture yourself in my part. I'm quite happy to talk to who you are now. And that brightens her visage. And we do that. We chatter about the joys of life in the afterlife. The sense of, reaping your rewards, as the other fellow said. And the sense of playing the game by the rules and winning. That's a good one. So there I am, socializing away. Nobody seems to ask more of my mysterious pastime. They're accepting the fact that I come to the astral plane and travel around for the pleasure of the experience. Nobody asks me, how much am I learning, or any of that sort of a thing, or am I communicating it to anyone else? And so I'm thinking maybe I should inject a little something of that into that. How long have these people passed? Would they know of the internet? It's hard to always say because people become radiantly young on the astral plane. You can't tell how old they are. You can sort of guess or intuit, but you don't really know unless you ask them. And so I casually asked this lady how long she's been here, and she says, oh, I think it's about 5 years Earth time. When I go back and look at my children, they seem to have grown. Well, they're not children anymore. They seem to be young adults now, and they were teenagers when I left. So that can be very fulfilling as a mother, seeing your children enter careers and contemplate marriage and raising a family. None of them are doing it yet, but the three of them are all at various stages of preparation. I have one daughter who's dodging about from one career path to the other, not happy, and feeling a little frustrated that she can't find what she wants. I try to, give her some help with suggestions, but I'm she doesn't really want to do what her mother tells her. And I try not to be too forceful, but it's hard. And the other two seem to be doing quite well. Both my boys are well launched. One in business, one in high tech. Thinking about marriage, but not really getting beyond the adventures of dating, as she so sweetly puts it. And there I am in pleasant company, experiencing the common joys of social interaction, where there are no pressures really to perform or shine other than just be yourself. And of course, there's somebody like me, there's always that sort of, background questioning of who exactly is yourself? I'm not sure if the people I'm with would be answering that question or even contemplating it. I'd love to introduce it and see how they feel. Let me see, how can I wangle that in? I'd sort of, as Joanna, that's the lady next to me, Joanna, is tailing off on her chattering about her children, her grown-up children. I just kind of leap in and say, Joanna, I often wonder who I really am. Don't you find that when you're in this world and you're who you are now, and then you look back at who you were before, do you ever wonder who you really are exactly? I know I do. And she nods and says, "Yeah, I've puzzled over that one. You look back at your time as a wife and mother, and then you go back to your teen years and your childhood, which of course you can do here with a great deal of ease because your memory is that much more perfect. And you see all your different ways of being and expressing yourself. The different, I was one girl at one point and I was another girl at another. And then I was a woman. And then I had a whole different set of desires and agendas, and she chuckles when she says that. And I'm hoping that she'll nip into past lives and see how different they are, but I'm getting the feeling she hasn't explored that much. She's still at a stage where, contemplating her earth life and what she tried to do and failed to do, and, strengths and weaknesses. She's pondering those sort of things. And she's saying, what was she saying? I had a bit of a conventional streak, and now I'm wishing that I'd been a little more, a bit more of a crazy girl, doing stuff spontaneously, which I would never do. I would always follow the well-beaten path. And so I say, are you following a well-beaten path now? And she looks up a bit and then down at the table and then across at me and says, yeah, I guess I'm still kind of conventional, doing what most people do in the afterlife, having fun and enjoying myself, and, taking trips back to Earth to watch the family and see how they're doing. Everybody does that, or at least everybody I know. And, you know, thinking about what kind of path in life, in the life of the afterlife, I'd like to follow. I'm too busy having a good time right now. And I do have some hobbies, but I don't know if I can channel them into a focused, you know, sort of career type thing. I'm very fond of clothes design. I do that at home, and I muck about with thread and needle, as they say. And I did that on Earth a little bit, but I'm doing it a lot more now. And what else does she do? Belongs to an amateur theatre group. And she says, I like doing set design the most. I'm not that much of an actor. I guess I could do it, but others are take to it more easily, like ducks to water, where I have to sort of struggle. And so, yeah, set design is... what's she saying? I'm learning a lot about lights and how to control them with your mind. I see. Spotlights and colored lights and that sort of thing, I say. And she goes, yes, of course. And making the sets with my imagination rather than the carpentry work we used to do. Although there are some people who are fond of the carpentry work and like to be hammering and banging and painting. And I'm challenged by doing it with your mind. It's big fun. And I'm wondering what play they're working on now, but I don't actually ask. And she mentions a play that I don't recognize. She said, oh, it did a short run on Broadway. It's not a huge production, but it did a short run on Broadway with only, I think, 4 actors, and all famous people. Kevin Kline was one of them, she says. She's trying to remember the names of the others. Julianne Moore. I'm getting a Julianne Moore. It might have been just somebody called Julianne Moore, and I'm thinking, Julianne rather than Julianne Moore. And she doesn't talk about it that much, but she says that the people involved, the actors here in the afterlife, have access to a video of the Broadway production. And of course, they watch it in awe at the enormous acting talents that they're seeing, and think, we're never going to get anywhere close to that. And but they are taking it on. They do want to. They were involved in amateur theatre on Earth and have the basic repertoire of abilities at their fingertips, and she's happy to work on the set design, which of course can be changed with scene to scene more easily than all the physical labor necessitated on our plane, or the plane I am on and you are on now. So that's very interesting to hear that. And she's going, are you going to remember all this, Gordon? Are you going to take it back to Earth with you? And I sigh and I go, well, actually I am, Joanna. I'm going to make a video about it on YouTube. And she goes, oh, right. You can do that, can't you? And I said, yes, it's it's becoming a very popular way to talk about out-of-body experiences. There are many people discussing their near-death experience, for example. And that has come on a lot in the last 10 years. And she said, well, I only died about 7 years ago, but I didn't pay that much attention to the internet. You know, I did look at things, but I wasn't really immersed in it. I was too busy trying to get my kids off their obsession with it. You know, I was doing the mom thing, she laughs. And so she says, well, how do people react to these videos that you do about the afterlife and your adventures? And I say, oh, you know, some are very pleased to see them. And I can tell that others watch them and don't know what to make of it. They think, am I just fantasizing or imagining? Because they manifest their own doubts when they're looking at it. They're interested, but they're still full of doubts. And some are very keen and email me right away. And such is the world of interconnectedness these days. And she obviously nods about the near-death experience reference, understands that, but didn't know people were making videos about it. And, well, shit, Joanna, people make videos about everything these days. It'd be hard to figure out what they don't make videos of. And I said there's lots of people taking psychedelic trips on various drugs and talking about that and going to places that aren't even, you know, in the afterlife at all. I said, have you heard about the self-replicating machine elves that you can see on DMT? And she just laughs and says, what? I said, oh, I'll tell you about that later. It's not a huge deal. But people are doing that as well. And of course, all the usual social activism stuff, environmental things and political things. It was... I'm slipping out of the conversation now, recognizing that part of me is still there and it's going on. And I'm coming back here. And I get, just to emphasize, what you can split your aspects up and be acting there and be functioning here. You don't have to be zoned out, as it were. And that is just another experience. Pleasant. Okay, let's go to the lower astral. I'm down in a dumpy little town that I've been in before. It's one of those lower astral places where people aren't, you know, like fighting and torturing each other, as some of the lower astral places are. They really are hell realms. It's kind of like a lower purgatory type place where people are, the general tenor of behavior is, you know, grumpy, bad-tempered, selfish, paranoid, resentful. It's remarkable, the bad-tempered people that live in this town. It's like we all agreed to, well, let's all go and live together and fight all the time, because that seems to be what they do. And, oh yeah, there's a guy trying to start his motorbike, making a lot of noise. It's in the garden, of course. And he's having trouble with it, and he doesn't know why, and he's frustrated. The motorcycle is partially manifested, well, 3/4 manifested, aspect of the one he had on Earth that he crashed and died in. And needless to say, whereas for some motorcyclists, riding, taking long drives is an expression of pleasure and joy, but for him it seemed to be an expression of aggressiveness and anger. And he's still got lots of that here. And I've seen him from a distance before when I passed through this town. And I know he's got a couple of neighbours that don't like the noise he makes. And I'm expecting somebody to step outside of their little, lean-to shack / house and start shouting at him. Because I've seen that before. And it's the usual, bug off, pal type, you talking to me type of argument. God, people are funny. And it's not happening right now, but I can tell you it's happened before. So let's move down the street and around the corner. And a couple of guys are standing in a doorway, kind of whispering at each other. And what's he doing? Oh, I think, there's a package coming out of a pocket and being palmed off to another guy, well, the guy, and who's got a small folded roll of bills that he's handing to the guy. So this is all imagination, of course. They think the drugs are real, and they think their need for the drugs are real, and the guy's manifested money just because he wants some, doesn't really know how he did it, and can't always do it. There's a lot of things, willpower and all that sort of thing doesn't work that well here because it's so weak, but it works from time to time, and they don't quite get why. They just kind of roll with it. Oh, I got money today. Oh, I don't. And have you got the stuff? Yeah, man, I got the stuff. I got it from this guy. I'm not even going to tell you where I got it because you don't need to know. And it's some kind of chemical. I don't think it's pot. I think it's powder. And one of them glances up at me kind of suspiciously and looks down. Gives me that sort of back off vibe. I just sort of move on. And they go about their business. Just like if you go to a higher level and people are playing tennis or golf or sitting in parks playing chess on one of those stone chess tables that you see. Still people doing that. They're following their pleasures too, And so different pleasures on different levels. And with that, I will, leave you with that thought and bid you farewell until next time. Friends, so long.